You know, people tend to keep their secret sauce hidden, and we don't. So today I'm going to show you the reporting system that we use for our clients doing between 5 and 50 million euros a year. So by the end of this video, you will know how they follow up on their numbers every week in order to know exactly what's working and what's not. Now, let me show you what most businesses are dealing with. They've got data coming from 6, 7, maybe even a dozen different platforms. It's scattered, it's messy, and it's really hard to figure out what's actually driving their revenue or their profitability. But here's what happens when we put all of that data into our system. We stitch it all together, and suddenly you have one single source of truth. Let me show you in a quick demo. This is on Digital's reporting solution. Everything you're about to see is based on real data stitched together from your ERP or e-commerce platform, Google Analytics, and all your marketing channels, and even any other custom source that you might be using. Let's jump straight in. This is the core of the system. We pull revenue from your ERP, your actual truth, compared to Google Analytics, where you'll always look at incomplete data due to tracking limitations such as ITP and GDPR. With this system, since we got data from both the ERP and GA, we can even follow up on the exact amount of orders missing in your GA4 tracking. So that's the untraced number that we have here, which in some cases, such as this one, will raise some warning flags because a 37.05% untraced rate is very high. I'd say you'd want to stay at least below 15%. Without this insight, this client wouldn't even know they had a problem.
What?
We also get loads of other data from each individual platform, such as Google Ads, Meta, and so on. So all marketing costs that you see right here, for example, is our total spend between Google and Meta. So I'm not joking when I say that the system really contains everything necessary. Everything's aligned, so this is the first time you actually see how the whole business performs in one place, and all the numbers finally match. Okay, so this is just the overview, and we also have all data aggregated per product here. So obviously we have the data anonymized in this example, but in your case you will have the product images here and the actual product IDs and titles and all of that. And even all this data here is customizable. In some cases, we even pull cost data on a product level from Google Ads and such, so we can even get the kind of estimated profit per product here. And since we have the data per product, we can aggregate it in different kinds of groups, such as product type, which is fetched from Shopify in this case. Again, all data is anonymized here, so I just put letters on them here. So this would be your actual product types and the percent of the total and the actual sales, the margins. We could customize all numbers here and also aggregated per brand. In this specific case, the comparison data here is period on period, which we've found to be very useful when we're following up on our data or our clients' data. So this is the overview, and everything in the report is completely customizable, so we can set it up exactly how you'd like to have the data. Then we have facing views. So we have all the most important metrics per day and per week and per month. We're normally using the weekly data, most often having weekly meetings, following up on the goals, how we're doing on the profit, how we're doing on the revenue and the growth year on year. Obviously now we're moving into Black Week, so sales are starting to surge here, and also the growth for this specific client. Cost of sale, everything is in here. And then we also have it split up per source. So this is according to Google Analytics, and then we also get the revenue data according to Google. So we can even compare different attribution windows here. So the revenue here is the revenue from the ERP system, but it's matched with GA4 in order to know which channel each order is attributed to. And then the Google revenue here is from Google Ads itself. Same thing with Meta Ads. We have the revenue according to GA4, which is normally pretty low in comparison to Meta's own attribution. And this is actually something we see very often with Meta Ads, that GA4 is under attributing, Meta Ads is over attributing due to their standard window of 7 days click and 1 day view. And what we've done in this case is to actually set up how big of a percentage does each attribution window stand for from the total sales. So we can see that 62.73% in the week 47 here is attributed under 7 day click window. So of the 81,000 here, 62% is actually from a click, which means that the cost of sale here maybe is closer to 10%. Or if you would want to go even further, we can see that the 1-day click attribution has gone up this week, which is also normal when it's Black Friday, you have offers, so people tend to click and buy directly from the ad, which is a really useful insight, because in this case, I would definitely say that this customer needs to raise their budgets, because Meta is definitely affecting the total. Same thing for email. In most cases, we also pull data for the amount of emails sent each week, the amount of emails opened, clicked, and then the traffic, and obviously the average order value, the revenue, and everything from GA4. And some ESP systems such as Klaviyo also have their own attribution models, and in those cases we actually show the revenue according to GA and according to Klaviyo here, so you can do a similar comparison on email as we're doing on Meta Ads, for example, and Google Ads. And then the site behavior page, here we have the drop-off rates between each page type, so we have the total amount of sessions, the total amount of engaged sessions, and obviously the bounce rate between them here, and then from the engaged sessions, how many have viewed items and how many dropped off, and then from viewed items to how many added to cart and how many drops off. We can also put comparison data here, so we see how it's moving over time. Same thing for add to cart to checkout and from checkout to purchase. And here we've actually created a parameter to only look at the traced orders, but if we wanted to look at the all orders and see if the drop off differs, you can just check this, and we see the drop off is extremely low. Normally we see a 50% abandonment rate in the checkout, but in this specific case, I would say that this is not actually true, and that it makes more sense to look at only traced orders, because this is Shopify. So the tracking issues arise already at the checkout here. So the metric that is probably off here would be this one, the drop off between add to cart and checkout. And we have the same data on product level from GA4, which in turn means that we can aggregate them per product type, brand, color, size, anything we'd like to see. What is the drop-off rate between each category or each product type, which is normally pretty useful if we're seeing things like this, for example, where we have an extremely high checkout rate. It's even over 100%, which probably means that a lot of the products in this product type are upsell products. So maybe the customer haven't even viewed the item, they've just went straight to checkout because it's been some kind of upsell in the checkout or similar. And that's a glimpse of how we turn scattered data into a crystal clear story that drives real growth. If you're tired of guesswork and you want to make decisions with confidence every week, let's talk. There should be a form to fill out just below this video if you're watching this from our landing page, but you can always send us an email as well to hello@ondigital.io. Ciao.